So the Vinyl Vault, if you guys don't know, you should know. Quinn and I take turns, and each week we produce an album that goes way back. It doesn't have to always go way back, but most of the time goes way back, and we think it's important, or we love it, or we're just obsessed by it for a particular reason. And it's your turn.
It is my turn. And as I often do, I kind of take a little bit of an academic approach to this, and kind of as benchmarks roll by, kind of hip you to stuff that you may or may not know about. And I got a big one today. This is not an album. We're going to talk about a track. And I'm going to take you back in time, 1963, Great Britain.
Was
BBC.
it 63?
63.
Man.
1963 in Great Britain. New television show, sci-fi show. They wanted to come up with a really unique theme for it. And there was
Do you know who's a super fan?
No.
Our producer, April Meek.
Oh, is she? Okay,
super
cool.
fan.
All right. So here's a little bit of history on this. And so it was passed off to the BBC Radio Lab, where they had all these like machines and stuff, and they would create like kind of soundtrack noises for the programs.
Right.
And there was a young assistant there. They couldn't be called musicians or recordists or engineers. Delia Derbyshire. And a guy named Ron Grainer wrote this piece of music and handed it off to her, and which became the Doctor Who theme. Here's a photo there of the early. You got Daleks and Tom Baker and all. Tom Baker, probably one of the most popular doctors. But this is one of the longest running British television shows ever. And what Delia created is arguably one of the most important pieces of electronic music ever created. And you might think, for me as a kid, I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. And so how that happened was, she wasn't a musician. She worked in the radio lab. Yeah. And she used, these are people in white coats, like walking around, like twiddling knobs. Sure. And she created this instantly recognizable piece of music by doing tape loops, by slicing together all these tape loops, using found sounds, creating like knocking on like the lid of a lamp, I
never thought about how it was done. I just knew it. It was instantly recognizable.
Yeah, and playing one note and looping the tape, and like literally looping the tape where it would go through rooms, to go through the tape heads. And nobody had ever done this. There were no computers. There were no synthesizers. Yeah. This is the dawn of electronic music right here.
Wow.
And, especially in Great Britain, if you were Tangerine Dream or Kraftwerk, much less Depeche Mode or New Order, or to Spaceman 3 or any modern electronic, you owe a huge debt to this person, Delia Derbyshire, who wasn't even credited as writing the song. It went to Ron Grainer, but then people figured out that she was this brilliant person.
We know now.
That was working in the BBC. And there's an awesome YouTube documentary about her that's only 25 minutes long.
All right.
And how this one person really changed the course of electronic music. And
that's fantastic.
And she's passed on, but after she passed, they found out that she had all these like tape experiments. And Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3 had befriended her before she passed, and they started this archive and started making the music available. And you can listen to some of that on YouTube as well. Nuts. And on the 23rd, while we're celebrating Thanksgiving in the UK, it's Delia Derbyshire Day, and it's the 60th anniversary of the theme.
Is it really?
60th anniversary of probably the most important piece of electronic music.
The only thing I ever thought about that would in my mind somewhere was that the part. I always thought that was a theremin.
It's an oscilloscope. It's like them using radio, the electronic waveforms, and her looping them. And watch the documentary. It's really great.
This is why you guys tune in, to get this kind of like information. Thrilling adventures in time and space. Indeed. Good vault, man.
One track.
Dude never disappoints.
But there you go.
Less is more.
Are you ready to open the vinyl vault?
Yeah, we're going to the vinyl vault. So here's a weird album that I bought it for two reasons. So I'm in the record store. This is Boss Hogg, and did we determine the second album?
It is Cold Hands is the second album.
Okay, yes. So the second album by Boss Hogg, and I was so this is 1990. I was taken by the lovely woman on the cover, which made me want to know more. And then I flipped it around and I said, amphetamine noise reptile, which I knew had several of the bands that I was into at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if they're label mates, and there's another picture of that lovely gal in the back, I said, I'm buying it. So I take it home and I put it on, and it was one of those things where I hadn't heard music quite like that.
Right.
What was happening, and especially the guitar playing was just completely nuts. I mean, there was a little hint of maybe the Cramps in there, but just
pyrotechnics, guitar
pyrotechnics. And I was, and I was like, but it's the first time I heard John Spencer.
Yeah.
Later of John Spencer, Blues Explosion. It wasn't an easy record to listen to because there wasn't like the one catchy song or anything. But it was a record that for me was, it was one of those that, and I had a lot of these moments in my record and musical life where like, oh, there are people doing a different style of a thing.
And you can do this, right?
And exactly right. But yeah, it's a good record.
Introduce the world to John Spencer, really. This is like
Christina. Do we know Christina's last name?
Martinez.
Christina Martinez. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, because she's just Christina on here. So for anybody who wants to know, the all stars on Boss Hog, Christina, John Spencer, or Jonathan Spencer at the time. I'm like, who's this Jonathan Spencer? Pete Shore, Charles Andrus, and Jerry Teal. Anyway,
I'm gonna give a shout out to my colleagues out there and say that my first memory, and like I remember, the first memory of this record was walking into Sound Exchange and seeing it like on the.
I think that's where I got it.
Like right up front, like stacked deep. Like, oh, that's an important record, man. They're into this.
Yeah, I think that's where I got it. Yeah. But back then, albums were pretty affordable. New albums was $6-7, and labels were a thing. Sub Pop was about to be a thing. They were there, but Nirvana's Bleach was out in '90. Yeah. So we knew. So it was kind of cool to buy from the labels that had bands you liked.
There was a culture around it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, amphetamine? Yep, I'm in. So anyway, Boss Hog, give it a listen. This is not, we looked online. This is not online anywhere, I don't think. It's not on iTunes. It's not on.
I think you see that, I was looking for a record the other day online to tell someone to listen to it and stream it. I think you see, when you see that there's some, there's the record itself. There it is. What you run into, there's some legal.
Yeah. Somebody sued someone.
Or maybe somebody doesn't know who's got this. But I don't know what is in print from that label right now anyway. So, were
they Chicago? Where were they? What was Amphetamine?
I think it's Chicago.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I think
off name.
Yeah.
And the creaky door just opened on the vinyl vault. I don't know if you heard that.
Get our sound effects together. We need to get that album of Halloween noises. Chris to just play it over there.
I'll tell you a crazy bit of trivia. Do you know this? You don't know this. Cactus sold a Halloween Sounds album because it's royalty free. You don't have to pay for any publishing or anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you sell it for, you make all the money, right?
Yeah.
And Don Daly, original Cactus music owner, actually recorded all the sounds. It's literally like the Gravediggers, like him with the shovel.
What?
Yeah, it comes in from time to time. It's like spooky sounds of Halloween.
That is nuts. Yeah. Well, that has to be the vinyl vault. So we take turns. We pick an album from way back, and then from way back, or whatever that we think is important or meant something to us. So this is the Boomtown Rats. This is Mondo Bongo. You may know one, Mr. Bob Geldof, who was Sir Bob Geldof, who was the leader of this band. They had a kind of a minor MTV hit with Up All Night.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought the album, and this is the one they had. Because Up All Night is on it, but there's a couple of just great songs on here that I love so much. Elephant's Graveyard's great, Banana Republic is amazing, and like a lot of bands of this era that I didn't really think that much about them, other than like, oh, I like it, play it again. I was in my mind, I was not critically listening to it. Mm-hmm. Older me goes back and listens. I'm amazed at the complexity, might not be the right word. This is sophisticated songwriting.
Oh yeah, it is for sure.
There, and like you would find in a lot of bands that, like even some of the later Clash stuff, which the hardcore Clash fans didn't like, features some really mature songwriting.
absolutely.
I mean, they progressed, whatever. Geldof, you know him from Live Aid and you know all the incredible work he did and got famous for. The band did not get as famous as he got famous. This one is produced by
Tony Visconti.
Tony Visconti. We know him from his work with David Bowie. What I love about Geldof is his voice sits right between Elvis Costello and Joe Strummer.
Yeah, it's kind of droll, but it's
very British.
It's very British.
And lyrically, he's spot on in a lot of the stuff. And the band is super tight. It's kind of ska. It's trippy in some parts. It's punk rock in some parts. It's a little strange in some parts. This is a good one. If you've never heard it, I recommend it. Pick it up. You can probably find it for $1 somewhere, you know, because this was not a massive seller for the band.
Right. So they're huge in the UK. And I think that's the reason. Like there's some things that are so British, they just don't translate that well in the US, but they did have some hits over here. And I mean, you still hear, Tell Me Why I Don't Like Mondays. You still hear that sampled on stuff. That's a big track. But I mean, I think because they really, like you're saying, it is sophisticated. It's fully formed. It's this thing that is not mass appeal. It's that good.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think they kind of struggled to find a U.S. audience. And of course, if you're not having hits over here, it's hard to tour, and that's how you really build a following in the U.S. But very cool record. I have to tell my friend Royal that you picked that. He's a colossal fan.
Okay, cool. I love that. All right.
Yeah. All right. And the door's swinging open. Doors are swinging open.
That's right. It's time
Ruben's
for the vinyl vault.
Tell us all about it, Ruben.
Yeah, man. So here we go. So I went with the Monkees. I think it's just more of the Monkees.
It's the second album.
It's the second album, and
released like 3 months after the first one.
Exactly.
They didn't even know it was out.
So 67, right? Something like that, or I don't know. But I remember it because this was very early on. Since I loved the TV show, my mom went out and got the album.
Yeah.
So I played this album like deep grooves into it, and I mean I can put it on to this day and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
with you.
I don't know why it's not the greatest pick in the world.
No,
but
this record is arguably their greatest record. It's filled top to bottom with awesome songs.
Dude, it's
lots of humor.
It's lots of humor, then lots of goofy stuff. But then there's songs that I can listen to Auntie Griselda today, and it's a very twisted kind of song, man. You know, you got 4 huge hits, right? Man. It's just like
I'm a Believer.
So there's a whole lot of nostalgia there for me. But I mean, they were actors on TV. Mike Nesmith, talented musician and writer and producer in his own right, and I love it, man. It's just I know they were goofy and all of that kind of stuff, but
culture is super culturally significant. Maybe now that Jan Wenner's kicked out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they'll actually get inducted because they deserve to be in there.
Yeah, because
he personally hates them. So now that he is not running the show,
the amount of
in there.
venom.
I mean, and you think about in your life as a person of a certain age, what music you have listened to the most.
Yeah,
this is right up there with me. I've probably heard this so much, and as a kid, I like that. I mean, I didn't. Difference between like
and
Monkees
right
and Beatles,
and right here where it says "Write to the Monkees fan club," I was like, one day I'm gonna write something.
Does it still have an address on there?
Oh yeah, but that was like 7-year-old me, and I was like, that's a lot. You got to like write the letter and put it in the envelope and find a stamp. It just felt overwhelming. But anyway, that's
now you can just like hit them up on
now
X.
I can on X. I wonder if the Monkees have a Instagram. We'll find them. And
I'm sure they do. Actually, they have a band archivist that like takes care of everything for them, and that's why they have such a great presence. All right, you ready to go to the Vinyl Vault?
Please. This is such a good one, man. You nailed it. I love this.
We're in the Vinyl Vault. It's my pick this week, and I picked one of my all-time favorite records, and it is Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Get Happy. What you need to know about this record. This record came out in 1980 when he was really at an artistic high, and this record is bonkers.
The whole band was high.
They were high. They're totally bonkers on amphetamines, and this album has 21 tracks on it, and it's just high, just pumping.
Favorite song on this album?
I mean, I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down.
Can't beat
cover,
it.
Cover of
Open
a soul song, but I gotta look at the titles. I'm terrible.
Go. I put you on the spot. I shouldn't have done
Temptation and Beaten to the Punch. You know, but all the songs are like 2 minutes long.
Mine are neither one of them.
Super fun.
Mine
What's your favorite?
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. That's great too. And which was a single too. So
God,
you know, this
it
record
makes it.
produced by the great Nick Lowe, who I saw in Minneapolis last week.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was great.
You saw him perform, or you just like saw him, went over to his house?
No,
okay,
I went to a concert.
I'm just curious.
Went to a show.
Nobody told me.
So this is a funny thing about this record. Here's some worthless trivia from Quinn's record.
Go.
They issue this record in England. Comes out in England first.
Different cover.
They made it. Elvis wanted it to look like an old record.
Yeah.
So they made it look like it was it was rubbed in the space where the record is, and people would pick it up and think it wasn't the new record and put it back down. So Columbia was like, "Oh, hey!"
Oh, so they like aged it almost.
Yeah. That was apparently a mistake.
Yeah,
people did not think that this. So anyway, so this is recorded in Holland with Nick Lowe, and supposedly they were just like out of their minds all the time and just writing lyrics as quickly as they could. Like, all right, that's a song.
Go.
Let's cut it, and you know. It never fails in its intensity. Sometimes some songs are better than others, but man, it's just like such a moment in time. It's his only record that sounds like this.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of fun. And I mean, if you got to like, let's say you're cleaning your house and
yeah.
you need something to like keep things moving.
Pick it up. Yeah. This is the one.
This will
Got it. Oh my God.
Aren't you glad I picked this one? Terrible. Yeah, it's not good.
That's not even
good.
That's not even close.
We're
Time for the vinyl vault. Kudos to my man here, because it was my turn and I forgot the vinyl vault altogether because I'm an idiot. So of course, Quinn does not disappoint.
I work in a place where it's the vinyl vault.
It is the vinyl vault.
You can literally just walk right over there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're vinyl
I will
vault.
stress this again. If you're watching the show and if you have the means and you've never been to Cactus Music, I talked to at the book signing.
Uh-huh.
Rogeria, is it what's his name? Bob.
Yeah.
Bob. I talked to his son. He comes over and introduces himself
because
he was with one of my good friends. His daughter and her boyfriend came because they knew him.
Yeah.
And so I saw Haley, and then we were standing right over there, and we were talking, and it was really funny because Haley and her boyfriend had never been here. She goes, it was 19. She's like, I've heard of this place. She goes, I didn't know it was this cool. And I'm like, exactly.
That's great.
That's because you have to walk through the door. So come check it out. That's
sweet.
That's the pitch.
I had like water sprinkler conversations on Saturday.
You were busy, man.
I talked to somebody and then look right.
It was
there,
just full of people, man. It was so great.
It was fun. Seemed like old times.
It was good times.
Okay, let's open the door in that vinyl vault and let's talk about. We talked about the Stevie Lindsay lineup of Fleetwood Mac. And people often know that the earlier
it's the only Fleetwood Mac they know. Some people,
is that and they really kind of defined British blues in the late '60s with their first record. But their undisputed masterpiece with Peter Green is this record, Then Play On. Man, I love this record. This is if you've never heard it, it is one of the spookiest, most tribal blues rock records ever. It is out there, and it just has this weird kismet to it that just it's never been replicated. This is the record.
I don't think I've ever just sat down and gone start to finish.
Yeah,
so
it's
now
really
I have
good.
Homework.
Triple guitar work on this, and this really, Peter Green had this just intense tone that just cut through everything. And in the rhythm section, again, I say tribal. It's not like ethnic music, but man, it is really pushing the envelope of like just staying in a groove and locking it down, and with all the spooky guitar all over it.
And if like that style of playing like Fleetwood does, like Mick Fleetwood does on Tusk. It's that.
Yeah, right.
Gives it that tribal kind of.
And at times it's fast,
repetitive.
and it's slow and beautiful and play. It's one of those records that has a lot of dynamics. It like starts you in one place and takes you somewhere else, and you go to a lot of places in between. Beautiful record.
What year is this?
Is it 69 or 71?
Who knows?
Oh man, I usually have this stuff ready on the.
I didn't mean to stump you.
Yeah, it's all right. Hey, when you listen to it, you'll
All right.
you'll get to find out about it. And I urge you to.
Time for the vault. It's time for the vault.
Record store day box is empty.
Yeah.
And Ruben, you were in the vault this
I
week.
am the vault.
What'd you bring
time
our
for
peeps?
It's time for Vinyl Vault. I actually forgot my record at home, so luckily there are records here, and I was able to grab this. So this is Goodbye Jumbo World Party. Mr. Carl Trollinger, one of my favorite songwriters, such a talented dude, just a crazy talented dude. And this album is really, it's just a special album. I love it. I like every single note on here, and cover's great too. And I was telling Quinn right before we did this that I ended up with this kind of greatest hits CD, and I would play it in the car. And my daughter was still in her car seat era back then. She wasn't old enough not to be in her car seat. So I would play this, and the song put the message in the box. She always called it the happy song, and she'd be like, "Dad, play the happy song." So that reminds me of her. But then you told me that greatest hits. What was the story behind it?
It was like a promo thing too. They famously did not have a greatest hits forever, and that was like a promo thing before to set up a new record. And both Ruben and I had the same common experience.
I somehow got it. I don't know how I ended up with it, but it.
And let me tell you, when a kid in a car seat tells you that's the happy song, guess what?
That's the happy song. You better like it because you're going to play it a lot.
Yeah,
you're going to play it a lot. Yeah,
and as a parent, you only have so much say in that. They pick the happy song.
Exactly. I never got to see them live. I don't know that they toured the U.S. that much.
Not much. I saw them for the first record, and I saw them. They played South by Southwest a couple of times. I saw them there, and so they were derailed for quite a while because Carl had an aneurysm.
I did not.
And had to retrain himself how to play and sing and do everything. The kind of kooky thing is just prior to that, the record prior to that, She's the One. I think that's the name of the song, but a song on there that was a single for them, but wasn't a huge hit, that became Robbie Williams' song. So it's like one of the biggest UK singles ever.
Okay.
And it also helped support Carl while he was rehabilitating from this horrible thing. So I saw them on the comeback. I think for that, they were fantastic. I like what Ruben's saying. This record, top to bottom, does not miss.
Yeah.
There's like 4 great singles on it, and it's just so
it's great.
This record takes me to a happy place. I love it.
I can
listen to this any minute, any day.
And you can come down to Cactus Music and buy it. It's on the shelf.
Can.
And this just came in, right?
UK import just got it. We haven't had it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Time for the sound effects. We're opening the vinyl vault.
Is it time for the vinyl vault?
It's my pick.
Yes, it is.
And this is a dual. I've been wanting to do this. This is a dual vinyl vault because we're gonna get academic and talk about one of my favorite records.
This is the stuff that makes me happy.
Okay, so this is.
Pay attention.
This is Van Morrison's St. Dominic's Preview. This is my favorite Van Morrison record.
Okay.
A lot of people got a lot of favorite Van Morrison records, but he was like on a tear. He pretty much made 6 brilliant records in a row. This one happens to be my favorite. This is 1972. Man, there were a bunch of good records made in 1972. This one features some of my very favorite songs by him. This is, Jackie Wilson said is the big hit, but it's also got Listen to the Lion, the title track. St. Dominic's Previews, brilliant. Almost Independence Day is great. Follows that kind of loose, just going where the music goes kind of thing, like Astral Weeks did. Astral Weeks and Moondance are obviously, and Tupelo Honey are the masterpieces.
Sure.
Bombs on too.
Yeah.
But this one's my favorite.
Okay.
But what I want to talk about is I want to kind of explain something to our viewers out there, is that the concept of the white label promo. I get people ask me about that at the store all the time.
Right.
Like, why is so? Let's pull that one out. And show you the label. So this is the classic Warner Brothers olive green record label. That's like Black
We've
Sabbath,
seen it before.
all the
we've seen it.
1972
We've seen it.
looks great. First pressing of that. So then this is, and you wouldn't be able to tell from the cover.
No, they're identical.
What's going on? Oh, why is that one white? So this one, you can see.
I've never seen that.
It says promotion not for sale at the top.
Oh.
And so this was the copy that they would send to either record stores or radio stations.
Yeah.
And it's kind of lost now, with every, digital music and everybody, there's a disconnect there with just kind of how people had to work with records in specific. DJs on the radio. So DJs on the radio would have to be concerned with, hey, at what point, how many seconds in does the guy start singing?
Okay.
At the end of the song, how long does it go on the outro? Well, the record company wouldn't supply you with that stuff. The programmer would actually have to listen to these tracks to figure out, like, okay, you can talk in the first 8 seconds
Right.
of Jackie Wilson said,
Right.
or there's a big, don't talk over the guitar solo here,
Right.
or, you know, at the
You had
end,
to figure it out.
and they would write like hard stop, means the song ends like bum, bum, bum,
Right.
and just ends, or if it fades out. Well, you couldn't write that for the DJ on that dark green label, right?
Right.
Because the DJ would be certainly probably in a very dark radio studio.
Sure.
You're looking at, you can't figure out. So what they would do is they would press a special batch of records with these white labels just for the purpose of radio programmers and DJs being able to write their notes, like,
That's
don't
crazy.
play this track, or don't talk. Van's going to start singing 8 seconds in.
Right.
So you got 8 seconds to talk before Van Morrison starts singing. And that's the whole reason the white label promo exists.
That's amazing.
And so they would generally, like a record like this, they probably first run all around the country. They would probably press 50, 60, 100,000 records, in that first, to move that first batch in different parts of the country. But the white label's generally regarded as, it's like a first edition book. That's the first thing that
Right.
they had to do, because they got to get it to radio,
Right.
to play it before, and FM radio too. Like, they would, prior to this, they would send 7-inch singles, to AM radio, but FM was
It's 1972.
the LP
Right.
rules.
Yeah.
So they would press up a special batch of these records with this white label to send to radio stations,
That's nuts.
and presumably to record stores too. In white label,
Never knew that.
white label records are very, very collectible. Some people collect, like, that's like their whole thing. And they're kind of hard to come by classic bands. I mean, like a Black Sabbath white label promo can be worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
That's
dollars.
fantastic.
But anyways, that's kind of, I had people ask me about it all the time, so I thought it was a good thing to cover on the drop
For the vinyl vault.
for the vinyl vault.
Education.
So there
people.
you go.
Education.
There we got it.
I love that, man. I had no idea. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Well done-
yeah.
well
You'll see
done,
them from
sir.
time to time. And, some of the labels would actually they wouldn't change the label. They figured out it was cheaper to put what they would call a timing strip.
Yeah.
So kind of sucks because it would cover up the whole bottom portion of the record with this like sticker.
Oh, it was
This-
physically on the
Physically
jacket.
on the jacket,
Wow.
where the DJs could write the notes. or
Yeah,
radio
yeah.
programmers could write their notes. But
That's crazy.
anyways, that's the story of the white label promo, and
Well, all
one
right.
of my favorite Van Morrison records,
It makes-
which
see,
you should go check out.
These are great when you do this. It's amazing, but it just makes next week pick very hard for me.
Come on,
Because then I'm like, God, what am I gonna? The hell am I gonna? I have an idea.
you're always talking from your heart. That's all. It is.
Yes, man. Yes, it's like the stuff that just I gotta toughen myself up and go into that garage and find that box of CDs.
You be you, man. You
Because
be
there's some
you.
stuff in there that I'm telling you,